Have you ever said something and instantly wished you could take it back? That split second where the words slip out and you feel the damage before it's even done. Most of us miss that critical moment, the tiny gap between thought and speech, because we're reacting, not choosing. But what if you could master that space? What if silence became your power? In today's video, we're diving into 10 Stoic lessons that will teach you how to control your words, manage your emotions, and speak only when it truly matters. Because the truth is, most people let their emotions do the talking. Anger, frustration, pride, all coming out in words they later regret. But the Stoics? They trained themselves to do something radically different. They pause, they think, they choose. One of the greatest Stoic minds, Marcus Aurelius, once said, "You always have the power of not having an opinion. You can always choose silence. So why do we feel the need to comment on everything? Why do we let our words run wild, steered by impulse instead of reason?" Let's change that, starting with Lesson 1. Lesson 1. Silence is strength. So many people talk just to fill the space. They speak out of nervousness, fear, or the pressure to seem in control. But the Stoics believed the opposite. True power lies in restraint. Nature gave us 2 ears and 1 tongue for a reason. We're meant to listen twice as much as we speak. And as Epictetus put it, letting go is where real power lies. Silence isn't weakness. It's not submission. It's control. Imagine being in a room where everyone's trying to prove something, talking over each other, shouting to be heard. And then there's you, calm, collected, silent. You don't need to fill the space. You let others reveal themselves through their noise, their need to dominate, their emotional outbursts. Meanwhile, your silence becomes your shield, your weapon, and your advantage. Think back to the last time you were around someone who just wouldn't stop talking. Were they confident, or were they afraid of the quiet? Did they sound powerful or desperate to be heard? Silence exposes people. When others talk too much, they reveal their doubts, their ego, even their secrets soften without realizing it. And you, by saying less, you see more. You notice the way they shift when nervous, the way their words don't match their tone. You hear fear, overcompensation, even lies. And you catch it not by speaking, but by watching. Now picture a heated argument, emotions flaring. Most people let anger win, saying things they don't mean, or worse, things they were trying to hide. But what if you didn't respond? What if you just listened? That silence makes space, and people uncomfortable with that space will keep talking. They'll try to fill it, and in doing so, they'll often say far more than they intended. That's when you realize silence isn't the absence of power, it's the mastery of it. People often blurt things out not because they mean to, but because they're uncomfortable with silence. They start filling in the gaps with words they later regret. Sometimes they even say things that aren't true just to provoke you or steer the conversation their way. It's a tactic, a trap. They want you to respond emotionally, to say something without thinking. But what happens when you don't react? When you just stay quiet, they're forced to slow down, to think. They lose the control they were trying to take. There's an old Stoic philosopher known for his remarkable self-control, who stayed silent even during the most intense arguments. His enemies would provoke him, hoping he'd slip up, say something rash, do something foolish. But he didn't. He knew that rash words could be dangerous, and that silence, in some moments, is far more powerful than speaking. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, pause. Don't just fill the silence. Feel it. Let them speak. Watch their tone, their energy, their frustration. If they get uneasy or angry, it's a sign they were counting on you to lose control. But you didn't. You stayed calm. You stayed composed. You stayed in control. Seneca once wrote, "He who does not know how to be silent will not know how to speak." The message is clear. Those who talk too much never learn to choose their words with care. But the ones who can sit with stillness, who observe, reflect, and speak deliberately, and not just respect, but real influence. Practice this daily. Next time you're in a conversation, don't rush to speak first. Hold the space. Let others reveal who they are. And when you do speak, make it count. Let your words be intentional, meaningful, and clear. Because in a room full of people shouting to be heard, the one who speaks with purpose always has the strongest voice. Listen to, think before you speak. Seneca gave us another timeless warning. Speech in a hurry is foolish. Most people don't speak, they react, driven by anger, fear, or excitement. They say things they haven't thought through. But Stoics, they pause. Just a few seconds of silence before you speak can save you from months, sometimes years of regret. Before you answer someone, ask yourself, is this necessary? Will this help or hurt? Will I regret saying this? If the answer is no, don't say it. Train yourself to pause. Just that one habit alone could solve 90% of the problems in your life. Why? Because once words leave your mouth, you can't take them back. Words have power. They can heal or hurt. They can build trust or destroy it. A careless comment, said in anger or frustration, could cost you a friend, a relationship, a job, or your reputation. That's why the Stoics viewed impulsive speech as a sign of weakness. To them, speaking without thinking meant you weren't in control of yourself. And what's Stoicism if not the art of self-mastery? So they trained themselves to pause, to think, to choose their words with care. Let's say you receive a message that upsets you. Maybe it's a rude email, an unfair accusation, or a cheap comment from someone who doesn't know the full story. Your first instinct? Probably to fire back. But what if you didn't? So what if the next time someone tried to get a rise out of you didn't react? What if, instead of firing back, you waited just a few moments longer? Your first instinct might be to protect yourself, to hit back, to make your point loud and clear. But what if you held off? What if you waited until the storm inside you had passed? Think about it. How many times have you said something in anger and later wished you hadn't? Those words felt good in the moment, right? But afterward, regret, guilt, damage. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, knew this all too well. He reminded himself often, silence is the best way to deal with anger. Why? Because words spoken in frustration or rage are rarely wise, and almost never worth the short-lived satisfaction they bring. So here's a powerful practice. Before you speak, ask yourself 3 simple questions. Is this truly important? Am I saying this to help or just to be heard? Will I regret this later, sometimes? Staying quiet is far more useful than adding more noise. Think carefully. Will this make the situation better or worse? Will it help solve the problem, or is it just air? If what you're about to say isn't helpful, it's probably not necessary. And if your emotions are clouding your judgment, pause. Step back. Let the heat pass before you answer. Because what sounds smart in the heat of the moment often sounds foolish once the moment is gone. Wise people create space between their thoughts and their words. That space, it's where self-control lives. People who can pause in that space have fewer regrets. People who can't, they spend their lives cleaning up the mess their mouths create. So challenge yourself today to make this a habit. Wait 3 seconds before responding to anything. Whether it's a friendly chat, a tense argument, or an emotional situation, give yourself those 3 seconds to think. You'll be surprised how much unnecessary tension just disappears. And here's a truth most people never realize. The things you don't say are just as important as the things you do. Lesson 3. The less you say, the more people listen. There was once a Stoic politician named Ko. He didn't speak much, but when he did, people listened. Why? Because he didn't talk unless it mattered. When you speak too often, your words start to lose their weight. But if you speak only when needed, each word carries power. Start practicing brevity. Cut your sentences in half. Strip away anything that's not essential. Because when it comes to communication, less is more. It's not about how much you say. It's about how well you say it. Ko wasn't silent because he lacked courage or ideas. He stayed quiet because he understood that impact comes from precision. When he spoke, he made it count. People paid attention because they knew he wouldn't waste their time with empty talk. There's strength in that kind of calm, and it's something we can all learn. Think of the people you admire, those who can command a room without raising their voices. They don't speak often, but when they do, every word lands. Because they speak with purpose. In a world drowning in noise, people who speak less and mean more stand out. So try this in your own life. Before speaking, ask yourself, what's the point of this? Does it add value? Or am I just talking to talk? If the answer is no, don't say it. When you remove the clutter from your speech, the words that remain become powerful, memorable, and worth hearing. In a world overflowing with noise, the person who speaks less but says more stands out. And Marcus Aurelius lived by that rule. Marcus Aurelius wrote often in his meditations about how vital it was to keep his words simple and clear. He recognized that most of what people say is just noise, complaints, idle thoughts, and chatter. That adds no real value. As emperor, he had to navigate a constant flood of opinions, flattery, and nonsense. But instead of reacting to all of it, he learned to tune it out and focus only on what truly mattered. He understood a powerful truth. The fewer words you use, the more important each one becomes. When Marcus did speak, people listened. Why? Because they knew he didn't speak unless it counted. And you can start doing the same right now. Ask yourself this. How can I say this in fewer words? Next time you're in conversation, try to go straight to the point. Avoid unnecessary details. And don't talk just to fill the silence. When you choose your words carefully, people pay attention. They start to trust that when you speak, you mean something. Your voice gains value not because it's loud, but because it's intentional. Never forget. People listen more when you say less. Your silence adds weight to your voice, and every word you do say becomes a reflection of your discipline and purpose. Lesson 4. Control your emotions. Control your words. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Know this, and you will find strength. Most people speak based on how they feel. When they're angry, they lash out. When they're excited, they make promises they can't keep. When they're afraid, they say whatever will help them avoid conflict, even if it means hiding the truth. But the Stoics did something different. They trained themselves to recognize emotion before reacting to it, to pause, to breathe, to think. If you feel a wave of anger rising, don't say anything. Step back, breathe deeply, let the emotion pass, and only then decide if your words are truly necessary. Because mastering your speech starts with mastering your emotions. Think about it. How many of the things you regret saying were said when you were emotional, angry, embarrassed, overwhelmed? The truth is, we don't always control what happens around us. People will challenge us. Events will frustrate us. But we do have full control over how we respond, and that includes the things we say. Most people let their feelings drive their speech. They speak out of pain, fear, or ego. But Stoics believed that losing control of your emotions is a form of weakness. That's why they spent their lives training not just their minds but their hearts. One of the most important habits in Stoicism is learning to pause before speaking when emotions are running high. We've all said things in anger that we wish we could take back. That's why the wise person learns to stop, breathe, and reflect before they speak. Imagine a time someone said something that triggered you. Maybe it was a sharp criticism, an unfair accusation, or a personal insult. Your first instinct might be to argue back, defend yourself, prove your point, maybe even hurt them in return. But the Stoic way, don't react immediately. Take a deep breath, step back, give the moment space. The emotion will pass, but the words you say in that moment may not be forgotten. Let the feeling go. And when you speak, do it with strength, not from rage, but from reason. When emotions run high, silence isn't retreat, it's strategy. And from that silence comes clarity. Choosing not to speak when your feelings are intense gives your mind the space it needs to reset. It's not about avoiding the issue. It's about giving yourself time to respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. Only after the emotional storm has passed should you respond, and by then, your words will come with more thought, more composure, and far more clarity. Seneca, one of the most respected Stoic philosophers, understood this deeply. He warned us, don't speak when your emotions are at their strongest. Why? Because when something upsets you, It's not really the event itself that causes distress, it's how you interpret it. Seneca wrote, "If something in the outside world hurts you, it is not that thing that troubles you but your judgment of it. That realization is powerful. The event doesn't create the suffering. Our reaction to it does." So how do we protect ourselves and others from our own reactions? By building the habit of pausing. By watching our emotional waves come and go without getting swept away. By thinking before we speak. The next time you feel your emotions bubbling up, anger, fear, excitement, don't jump to speak. Breathe. Let that first wave pass. Let your heartbeat slow. Then ask yourself, is what I'm about to say important? Is it helpful? Is it true? When your words come from a calm, thoughtful place, they're more than just sound, they carry meaning. Emotional control doesn't just help you avoid unnecessary conflict. It helps you communicate more clearly, more honestly, and more effectively. And the result? Your words are taken more seriously. People trust what you say, and you gain the quiet respect of those around you, not because you speak loudly, but because you speak wisely. Lesson 5. Listen more than you speak. Epictetus once said, "It is impossible to learn that which one thinks one already knows." Most people don't really listen. They're just waiting for their turn to talk. But true wisdom, real understanding starts with listening. Before you speak, slow down. Really pay attention to what the other person is saying. Try to see the world through their eyes. Only then should you decide if your words are necessary. People who listen more learn more. And those who learn more, they have smarter, sharper, more thoughtful things to say. It's not enough to hear someone's words. You have to understand what they mean. That requires more than just ears. It requires focus, patience, and an open mind. Think about it. How often do you catch yourself planning your response while the other person is still talking? How many times have you jumped in before they even finished? It's a common habit, but it blocks connection. It turns conversation into performance. When you truly listen, you stop thinking about what you'll say next. You let the person speak fully. You absorb their words, and only then do you respond with care, not ego. Seneca often wrote about the value of listening. He believed that those who talk too much miss the chance to learn from others. Listening is more than silence, it's an active choice to understand. And it's one of the fastest paths to wisdom. Those who talk the least often learn the most. Because listening doesn't just help you understand others, it helps you understand yourself. One of the core Stoic beliefs is that limited knowledge can block deeper understanding. When you're too focused on what you want to say, you miss the insight sitting right in front of you. The Stoics believe that listening isn't just polite, it's powerful. When you truly listen, you allow new ideas to enter. You see from another perspective. And that shift in perspective, it makes your mind stronger, your knowledge broader, your thinking deeper. So next time you're in a conversation, pause before rushing to respond. Ask yourself, what is this person really trying to say? How can I learn from their point of view? Only then, after you've truly listened, should you speak. Because when your words come from understanding, not assumptions, they carry more weight. Your actions become more intelligent. Your responses become more thoughtful. And most importantly, your words gain power. Make a habit of listening more than you speak. In your next conversation, don't just wait for your turn. Really listen. Give the other person space to finish. Let their words land. Then respond with intention. People who listen more learn more. And those who learn more, they always have something worth saying. Lesson 6. Not every opinion needs to be shared. Seneca once wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a man who keeps his tongue in check." That advice feels even more relevant today when it seems like everyone has an opinion about everything. Scroll through social media and you'll see it. Every thought, every reaction, every opinion shared instantly without pause. But the Stoics, they believe that not every thought is worth saying out loud. Before you speak, ask yourself, will this actually improve the conversation? Or is my ego just craving attention? If what you're about to say doesn't add real value, maybe it's better left unsaid. Seneca's quote reminds us, self-control is strength. And in a world where words are constantly flying, restraint is power. Talking for no reason dilutes the weight of your voice. The more you speak without purpose, the more people tune you out. We've all felt the pull to jump into a conversation, to add our 2 cents, even when we weren't asked. Online, it's even easier. One click, one comment, one reaction, and suddenly, your opinion is out there. But the Stoics didn't chase attention. They chased clarity and wisdom. They knew that ego often hides behind our need to speak. We don't always share because we want to help. We often share because we want to be seen, understood, or praised. So next time you feel the urge to say something, pause. Ask, will this improve the conversation? Will it add truth, clarity, or depth? Or am I just feeding my own need to be heard? If your answer is no, stay silent. Leaving out unnecessary words doesn't just protect your image. It amplifies the words you do choose to speak. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Be silent, or let your words be better than silence." In other words, if your words can't improve the silence, why say them? Because sometimes silence says more than words ever could. Silence doesn't mean saying nothing forever. It simply means learning when to speak, and why. Taking a moment of silence gives your mind the space to think. It sharpens your understanding, filters out noise, and makes sure that when you finally do speak, your words carry weight. But let's be clear, the Stoics weren't suggesting we never speak again. This isn't about becoming silent monks. It's about becoming intentional communicators. In a world flooded with opinions, confusion, and constant chatter, we don't need more noise. What we need is clarity. And clarity comes when words are spoken with purpose, not pride. So, before you speak, stop for a moment and ask yourself, do I really need to say this? Does it help anyone? Or am I just speaking to be heard? This one act of awareness can completely transform how you interact. It helps you use silence strategically, not passively. And here's the beauty of it. When you learn to control your tongue, you stop needing to prove yourself all the time. You speak when it matters, and because it's rare, it matters more. The Stoics believed that deliberate speech, speaking only when something is meaningful or valuable, was a form of real power. If you apply this principle, your conversations will become clearer, your relationships stronger. You'll speak less but accomplish much more. Lesson 7. The power of saying I don't know. Here's a truth most people avoid. People value honesty more than fake confidence. But still, many are afraid to admit when they don't know something. They feel pressured to have an answer for everything. But the Stoics believed the opposite, that pretending to know everything is a weakness, not a strength. There's real power in saying, I don't know, I'm not sure, but I'll find out. This kind of honesty earns respect. It builds credibility, and most importantly, it keeps you from lying to cover your pride. Socrates, widely seen as the father of Stoic thought, said it best: the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. That's not a statement of ignorance. It's a declaration of humility and of growth. But today, so many people feel the pressure to always have the answer. They worry that saying, I don't know, makes them look stupid, weak, or unqualified. So instead, they fake it. They fill the silence with guesses, half-truths, and assumptions. They act confident, but their words are empty. The Stoics, however, knew something powerful. Admitting you don't know something doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. Genuine honesty stands out in a world full of overconfidence. People can sense when you're authentic, and they will value that far more than someone who fakes knowledge just to look smart. Marcus Aurelius put it this way in Meditations: it's not that we don't have enough time to live, it's that we waste a lot of it. We waste time pretending. We waste it having surface-level conversations that only serve our egos, instead of helping us grow. Stoic wisdom teaches us this. Never feel ashamed for not knowing something, because that phrase, I don't know, isn't the end of knowledge. It's the beginning of it. It's the gateway to curiosity, to learning, to asking better questions and gaining real insight. So think back to a time when you were in a meeting or a conversation and you didn't know the answer. What did you do? Did you try to fake it? Or did you admit it and open the door to learning something new? I don't know may be one of the most powerful phrases you'll ever use because it's honest, it's humble, and it clears the way for real growth. So don't rush to answer. That quick reply, the one that makes you sound confident, might be wrong, or only half right. Instead, pause, take a breath, say, I don't know, but I'll look into it and get back to you. That simple sentence changes everything. The conversation shifts. It's no longer a performance. It becomes an honest exchange, where truth matters more than ego. You show that you're not pretending to be an expert, you're genuinely seeking understanding. And that earns respect. People can sense when you're being real. They admire the person who values truth over pride. And they're more likely to trust what you say because they know you're not just saying it to sound smart. Even more importantly, saying I don't know frees you. You no longer have to defend something you're unsure about. You can speak with humility instead of fear. You're not trying to protect an image, you're focused on learning. And that's what really matters. You don't need to have all the answers. What you need is the courage to stay centered, to know your limits, and to take ownership of your growth. That's what Stoic strength looks like. So the next time you feel uncertain, say it out loud. I don't know. It's not weakness. It's the mindset of someone committed to truth, growth, and lifelong learning, not just for themselves, but for the good of everyone around them. Lesson 8. Words have consequence. Stoics knew something many of us forget. Words can build or destroy. One careless comment can end a friendship. A single complaint can damage your reputation. An impulsive sentence, said in anger, can spark a conflict that didn't need to exist. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be overheard complaining, not even to yourself." Why? Because he understood that words don't just live in the air. They echo. They shape how we see the world and how the world sees us. If you're speaking only to release anger, frustration, or pain, don't speak only when there's a reason. When your words bring value, not just noise. Words have power. They can lift someone up, heal old wounds, inspire action, but they can also cut deep. They can bruise a person's self-worth, rupture trust, or escalate a minor issue into a full-blown argument. And once spoken, you can't take them back. When we're angry, we often blurt out words without thinking. We vent. We gossip. We let emotions drive our speech, and in doing so, we forget the lasting effect our words might have. It's easy to fall into that habit, to whine, to complain, to react. But the Stoic way is different. It's mindful. It's deliberate. They taught us to remember every word has weight, not just for you, but for the person hearing it. Think of how a single careless phrase can turn a small disagreement into something much bigger, or how a simple complaint can damage the way others perceive you, making you seem negative, defensive, or difficult, even if that's not who you truly are. The Stoics knew this. That's why they chose their words carefully and sometimes chose silence instead. To practice Stoic speech, ask yourself, will this conversation add something meaningful? Will it bring clarity, peace, or deeper understanding? Or will it create confusion, harm, or noise? If the answer leans toward harm or confusion, say nothing. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is hold your tongue. Mindful speech isn't about silence for the sake of silence. It's about speaking when your words will matter and holding them back when they won't. So what if what you're about to say doesn't actually help? Then don't say it, even when you're just muttering to yourself in frustration. Pause. That, too, is an opportunity to build self-control. Instead of complaining, ask yourself, what's really bothering me? Is there a lesson here? Can I approach this with more patience, more wisdom, or more gratitude? Seneca emphasized this in his writings. He believed that a virtuous life isn't just about what you do, it's also about what you say. The wise person, he wrote, is just as careful with their words as they are with their actions. They don't speak unless it's necessary, and when they do, they choose words that align with their values, words that reflect calm, clarity, and intention. When you become mindful in this way, you'll start to notice something. Most of the things people say, especially when angry or stressed, don't come from deep reflection. They come from emotion, from reaction, not response. Picture this. You're in a frustrating situation. A co-worker's pushing your buttons. Your plans aren't going the way you wanted. Your instinct: complain, lash out, vent. But here's the Stoic move pause. Ask yourself, will this make things better or worse? Will this calm me down or fuel my anger? If your words won't bring clarity, connection, or peace, choose quiet. When you do speak, make it purposeful. Don't gossip. Don't whine. Don't speak from anger. Remember, everything you say has consequences. Your words shape how people see you. They affect your relationships, and they influence your own emotional state. Instead of yelling, think. Instead of reacting, breathe. Speak. Only when it leads to something good. Practicing mindful speech will help you avoid unnecessary conflict. It will sharpen your communication, and it will guide you towards speaking with wisdom and honesty. Lesson 9. Don't speak just to fill the silence. A well-known Stoic figure had a reputation for something rare. He could sit quietly through long discussions without saying a single word, not because he was bored, not because he had nothing to say, but because he believed in the power of not speaking unless there was a reason to. To KO, silence wasn't awkward. It was strength. The Stoics knew that when you talk just to fill space, your words lose impact. People begin to tune you out. But when you speak less and speak only when it counts, your words carry more weight. KO could sit through entire meetings in complete stillness, and when he finally did speak, everyone listened. Why? Because they knew he only spoke when he had something meaningful to say. You can apply this too. Next time you're in a conversation and there's a pause, resist the urge to fill it. Let someone else break the silence, or let the silence stay. We live in a noisy world filled with constant news, updates, conversations, and notifications. In that chaos, silence feels strange, even uncomfortable. But KO showed us that silence is not something to fear. It's a powerful tool for reflection, for control, and for connection. When you don't feel the need to fill every gap with words, you become a better listener. You become more intentional with your speech. You speak with clarity, not just noise. So next time you're in a quiet moment with someone, don't rush to fill it. Let the silence sit. It gives you time to think, and it changes the entire tone of the conversation. Because in a room full of talkers, the one who pauses commands the most attention. You don't need to speak often to be heard. In fact, the less you say, the more carefully people listen. Lesson 10. Speak with purpose. We've all met someone who doesn't talk much, but when they do, everyone leans in. Why? Because their words feel deliberate, grounded, and well considered. That's not by accident. It's a skill, and silence is part of their toolkit. We often feel pressured to speak when silence gets uncomfortable. An awkward pause. We rush to fill it. But the Stoics teach us you don't have to. If you let the silence be just for a moment, something powerful happens. You start listening more. You start thinking more clearly. And when you do speak, your words hit harder. So next time you're in a conversation, don't talk just to fill space. Let others speak first. Give the silence a moment to breathe. And when it's your turn, speak with intention. Marcus Aurelius had a simple rule: never vent your anger to anyone. To him, every word had to serve a purpose. No gossip, no complaining, no small talk for the sake of talking. Before speaking, Ask yourself, is this important? Will this help or harm? Does it bring clarity or value? If not, don't say it. Let no one hear you complain. He wrote, not even yourself. That wasn't just a rule against negativity. It was a principle of living deliberately, because every word you say once spoken has power. Words can build, they can heal, they can inspire, but they can also damage relationships, stir unnecessary conflict, or feed doubt and fear, especially when we speak without thinking. So take a moment. Before you speak, ask, what is the point of this? Is it aligned with who I want to be? The Stoics treated words as tools, not toys. If what you're about to say doesn't solve a problem, bring clarity, or offer hope, hold it back. Being quiet isn't weakness, it's discipline. And when you speak with meaning, people listen. They know you're not wasting their time with fluff or filler, because what you say reveals who you are. It reflects your values, your clarity of thought, and your ability to rise above reaction. Seneca put it best, we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. This is where so many careless words come from: fear, projection, insecurity. But if you speak with care, you avoid hurting others with pain that isn't even real. You avoid creating storms that never needed to happen. The next time you feel the urge to speak, pause. Ask yourself, are my words helping or just adding noise? If they don't help, choose silence, because silence can be more compassionate, more powerful, and more honest than anything you could say. The result? You'll have calmer conversations, stronger relationships, and a more peaceful, purposeful life. Words are tools. Used well, they shape reality. Used carelessly, they create chaos. The Stoics knew one of the most disciplined things you'll ever do is master your words. So which Stoic lesson hit you the hardest? Drop a comment below. I read everyone. If you're serious about learning the art of self-discipline and calm communication, subscribe now to Stoic Capsule. Click like, hit share, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new lesson. In Stoic wisdom. Live with intention, speak with purpose, and until next time, stay still, stay sharp, and stay stoic.